Santorum joins us now with more about this Alex Summit. Rick, thanks for joining us.
You bet, Jason. Great to be in San Diego always.
I'm sorry about the fog, but you know it's going to lift before long, right?
Yeah. No, you can't. I never complain about the weather in San Diego when I'm here.
Okay, well, tell us about the Convention of States project. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the Convention of States project is really a response that was laid out by our founders. It's an Article 5 of the Constitution. There are two ways to amend the Constitution. One, Congress can propose amendments to the Constitution. The second way is state legislatures can pass a resolution. And if 2/3 of the states, in this case 34, pass this similar resolution, a convention is called of all the states to consider changes to the Constitution. And the resolution that we're proposing would allow for amendments to the Constitution that would limit the power of the federal government. That's the principal thing, whether it's spending limits or whether it's spending in certain areas of government. And this is really a reaction to government in Washington getting bigger and bigger and bigger and controlling everything, and the states having a much smaller role in local governments in people's lives. And we want to try to rebalance that equation.
Yeah, I can see that because obviously you're for limited government. The Democrats typically are for the bigger government.
Yep.
Can Congress block this?
No, they can't. That's the great thing. I mean, George Mason, one of the founding fathers, if you will, proposed this right at the end of the Constitutional Convention and suggested, look, we have to have a way that if Washington gets too big and out of control and starts running over the states and taking all the power, we have to have a way for the states to rebalance this. And so they created a mechanism with this convention that the Congress has no role in at all other than to stamp it as the resolutions that have been passed by 34 states have been passed by 34 states. Other than that, just clearly ministerial. The states really operate the whole thing. And so it's independent of Washington. And as someone who spent 25 years in Washington, one of the things I realized is that Washington is not going to fix Washington, Republican or Democrat alike. They're not going to fix it. We're going to have to go out to the people and to the states and have them do the job.
How confident are you, Rick, that this is going to work?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned, Republicans are more in favor of this because they believe in government closer to the people is where government should be the most active. And 31 state legislatures are now controlled by Republicans. 2 are divided, and a couple are very, very close. We actually think in the next year or two that Republicans will control 34 state legislatures, and you don't need the governor to sign this resolution. So if 34 state legislatures controlled by Republicans can pass this, then all 50 states will be called to a convention. And this is, like I said, we'll pull the pin on the grenade and it'll be live. And right now, about 15 states have passed it so far, and we're working on about 5 or more next year. So this is a reality if elections turn the way people think they are in 2022.
Well, I was looking at your correspondence here, and one thing that stands out to me is you're pushing for, like you said, a government structure that holds elected officials accountable.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you want to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. And I was having a conversation with somebody about a week ago, and he said, I got a question. He said, how can a member of Congress be elected to a job that pays $174,000 a year, and a few years later they're worth multi-millions?
Yeah, I mean, these are the type of constitutional amendments that what you're looking at is a list of, for instance, types of amendments that could be considered by the convention that would be considered in order. Not every amendment's going to be in order. They're only things that limit the power of the federal government, not expand the power of the federal government, would be in order at the convention. And so you mentioned one of them, that term limits, for example, on not just members of Congress but members of the administration. I mean, you have a lot of folks are concerned about people who stay in these departments in Washington for 20, 30, 40 years and don't pay attention to whoever the president is, just sort of do what they want. But we can limit the terms of those people in those offices. So there's all sorts of ideas that are kicking around. And I think we're at a time when people have lost trust in Washington, D.C. And I candidly think Democrats and Republicans both should welcome this opportunity to see what we can do to bring government back closer to the people and be more responsive to them.
And another priority is election integrity. How would you carry that out?
Again, one of the things that are important is that you've seen an effort, unfortunately, by the other side to try to federalize elections. And we just think that's really unwise. It's not really allowed by the Constitution, but maybe we have to be clear that one of the reasons election fraud, particularly at a national scale, is so hard is because every state and every community does elections a little differently. They have different machines, they have different processes. And so it's harder to commit fraud nationally in an election, to rig an election, because you have so many different systems, so many different ways of doing it. And we think that's one of the great safeguards of ensuring safe elections. And federalizing everything, making everything the same, actually causes a lot more concern for election security and integrity. And so again, passing an amendment to make sure that this dissemination of different voting systems stays in place is actually a good election security provision.
And what kind of response do you think you're going to get from California with all this?
Well, probably not great, but I say to the people to the legislature, obviously California has, marched to their own drummer and done some very, very, in my opinion, unwise things, but they've been allowed to do that. And I think that's how federalism works. If people like what's going on in California, move to California, live in California. If you like what's going on in Florida or Texas or South Dakota, then move there. One of the great things about our system in the United States is that we're different. I mean, we agree on certain unifying principles, but within those principles, then there's a variety. There's an ability to people to live and enjoy the kind of life that they want, and that's okay. I mean, not everybody has to be the same, and California shouldn't tell everybody you all have to be like California any more than Texas should tell California you have to be like Texas.
What state do you live in, Rick?
Right now, we live in Virginia.
Oh, you live in Virginia. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've got colleagues that you're rubbing elbows with that are from Texas, and actually, I'm sure you've heard by now Tesla is moving their headquarters from Palo Alto all the way to Texas. Yeah. People are they're moving to Texas in droves, and
Arizona, Nevada. I mean, California is, people are voting with their feet out of California, and that's as it should be. And I'm sure there are people coming to California because they like, the wokeness that has enveloped the state. But again, that's okay. I'm not, as someone who obviously wouldn't want to do that, but I'm okay with people having choices to be able to go where they want to go.
Yeah, and right now people are going from California to, like we just said, Arizona, Texas, Florida. Just for perspective, you might be able to use this with your colleagues. I always say the UHaul Index doesn't lie. Right now today, if you want to rent a 20-foot U-Haul box truck and take it from San Diego, California to Dallas, Texas, it's going to cost you $4,531. To take that same 20-foot box truck from Dallas back to San Diego, it's $918.
Yeah, I've heard that. I actually just came from Dallas. I just gave a talk there last night, and I hear this all the time, which is they have so many moving vehicles there. They're actually, in some cases, paying people to take them out of the state to go somewhere else. And again, that's something that's the dynamism that keeps these elected officials accountable. If this continues to happen to California, I mean, it's this election cycle is the first. Redistricting cycle is the first year that California is actually going to lose a seat, and you have a situation where people are going to start waking up and saying, hey, people are voting with their feet, and you want that to happen. You don't want the federal government making everybody like California, and which is the direction we're going, unfortunately. So it's really important that we have, and that's why I'm so excited about Convention of the States, that we have a mechanism to assure that that the Constitution keeps federalism alive.
All right, former Senator and presidential candidate Rick Santorum. Rick, it's so nice to talk to you. Enjoy your time in San Diego. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Great to be with you. It's always a pleasure.
I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.